And a very good evening. I don't know if you could pick those birds out. It's lovely to actually have the window open, especially after the last 2 days, where it's literally been 4 seasons in a day for the last 2 days. Snow, ice, hail, sleet, sunshine, strong gale force winds, and now it's a lovely kind of spring evening. And I'm sweating me little titties off because I got the Rona, and so you might hear it in my voice. I'm a little bit nasally, a little bit chesty, LaRue. And a little bit moist on the brow, but we'll soldier on through because we've got a great show. There's no way I was going to miss this one at all. Before we get round the room and talk to everyone, let me just remind you all, thank you very much for coming along, and if you haven't already, please do like the show. Apparently, if you like it during the broadcast, it counts as extra or something like that. If you haven't subscribed, if you're new to the channel, first of all, where the hell have you been? And secondly, hit that subscribe button and the bell to get notifications. But we're on every Friday, so that's all you really need to know. And of course, if you want to share this with your friends, family and loved ones, please do. The bigger the audience, the better. So yeah, that's all that kind of stuff out of the way. As I say, every week we are funded by you guys. You keep us going through the YouTube, and through PayPal donations. And if you want to contribute, you don't have to. It's absolutely optional, but if you do, we are super grateful. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can donate to our PayPal link, which is just there, and you can also use the YouTube super chat, super stickers, all that kind of stuff, and it all goes into the fund to pay for all of this shenanigans, and maybe a little trip somewhere, of course, music technology related. So, no trip to the Bahamas this year, I'm afraid. That's all that out of the way. Of course, you can find us on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube, all with the same handle at ProSynth Network. So if you want to follow us there and get updates and talk to us, you can do that in those places. And we've got a great guest for you. I've been wanting to get this guy on for a long while. We'll introduce it to him in just a moment, although I don't really think he needs much of an introduction. But if you have any questions for our guest or any questions on any of the topics, please do throw it into the chat box, which is suitably moderated by who have we got in there? I think it's Sasquatch and Andy Brooks, and then we've got a couple of others in there. But if you can prefix your questions with a big letter Q and then just throw it in, it just helps us pick them out and move them into a special box where we can then go and pick them from. So that's very handy. So if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Lots of interesting news topics to talk about. But first, let's go up north and talk to our illustrious leader, Mr. Ben Simpson. Good. Oh, hang on, bring you back in. There you go. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, nice to see everybody appeared at once.
I know. It's a technology blip.
A bit of a surprise. Yeah, I'm very well. Enjoyed some of the April Fool gags that's been going on today, and
there weren't many, were there? Unless I've just not seen them. But
yeah, there wasn't as many as usual, but there was a couple of good ones.
We did a good one, didn't we? A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I really need to think of something to better that one.
I can't remember what it was. You could have got me again with it this year.
We announced that we were becoming the Behringer ProSynth Network.
Oh yeah,
we did the graphics and everything, and I had people literally ringing me up saying, "Are you serious?" Like, what's the date?
Yeah, I think we peed a few people off that day.
we did, which is probably why we haven't done it. Did you do any April Fools to anyone this week? Did you?
No, but I've had a bit of a disaster in the studio. This isn't an April Fool. An incident has happened in the studio where everything ended up like a quarter of an inch thick in brick dust.
Oh God!
And I've had to spend like 2 days getting rid of it all. So I've not tested everything yet, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure if it's all going to work as it should do. But
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Bit of a major event, really.
Dear, oh dear.
Yeah.
Never mind. But other than that, you're well, yes?
Yeah, I'm great.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Right, let's go to the synth tech of the stars. Here's our very own Kent Spong. How are you?
Morning.
You're looking very casual there. Yeah.
Do you know what? I haven't been asleep since Thursday. So.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Have you got electricity today?
Yeah.
Obviously you have. But
yeah. I've also got a lot of sand.
Oh.
Yeah. So the dogs have been they're at the beach today.
Oh right, at the back with the thing.
Yeah. Well, they flattened it all up, and the dogs have torn it all up again.
Oh gosh.
So
Can we show a picture of your studio if I get that sorted? Not your studio, your shed.
Yes.
Your new shed. I'll sort that out in a minute because it looks real. I must say, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to have a workshop to suit his stature now. It looks fantastic, I must say.
Stature. I don't know about that, sunshine. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Anyway, happy bicentenary.
Oh yes, of course. It was 2 years last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it this week? It was this week.
It's today.
It's today. Oh my word! Wow. We are 2 years old today. Yeah. Officially 104.
I was waiting for one of you to say something. And go,
do you know?
They've forgotten.
I have forgotten.
I didn't know.
I had completely forgotten. We did 100 shows, didn't we? And I thought, oh, that's good. And then 104, of course, because we've done one every week non-stop for the last 2 years. So this is our 104th show. And we are officially 2 years old. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, I need some bells. I need some bells ringing. There we go. On cue.
Yes.
I feel the need for speed. Oh, we were just saying off air, that sound I think is one of the most glorious sounds known to mankind.
I must admit, I do take the mickey out of FM, as you well know.
Of course.
But for the sake of taking the mickey out of FM, not that I think bad of it at all, but I dug this out, I plugged it in. Yes, it needed a new internal battery, loaded the sessions and all the rest of it. Fortunately, it's got 2 cartridges with her as well. And then spent 3 hours playing tracks from the 80s. And it's just
as you
gone. Do. Yeah. The only one I didn't play was it Robbie's Got Corona? I think that was the only one I didn't play.
Oh dear.
Wrong decade, I think, but there you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, it's looking resplendent there. It's a lovely thing. Anyway, welcome along, Kent. Great to have you as per usual. Before we go to our guest, I need to do this, otherwise I will forget. So Keith in Watford, thank you very much for your donation. That is superb. Thank you. Traitor to the Living. That's an interesting name. Cheers, gents. $9.99. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And there was one more. Here we go. Jason Crouch. Thank you. Happy birthday. Yes. I just can't believe I let that go. I've been so befuddled this week with the Rona and all that stuff that I've just completely forgotten about our birthday. 104 shows straight, no breaks. How long can we keep this streak going? We've got a long way to go to match some of the best, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Anyway, it's time to introduce our very special guest this week. I've known this guy for a very long time. He's one of the nicest people in the world. Not just, not in this industry, but just like in the world. Fact. You know him from such shows as SonicState and his own Wednesday night streams when he does them, which are just superb. He is the force of nature that is Mr. Gaz Williams. Welcome to the show. Hey. Oh yes, round of applause. There we go.
Hey.
Yeah, and you've got the bells too.
That doesn't happen on SonicState, does it?
Yeah, no. we're a little less professional over here.
A little.
Just a little.
Very nice to be here. I do feel like everyone's like, oh my God, not him again.
Oh, don't be daft.
It's a real pleasure. And, I was thinking about actually, the first time we met in person was at a sad occasion, really.
It was, yeah. It
was the funeral of Stephen Howell, who...
It was.
I'm sure some of you will know who he is, but I mean, really, he's a real legend. He is for those of you who don't know who Stephen is, Hollow Sun was his...
That's right.
His name, his kind of company name, they make sample libraries under the name of, but also was quite integral in the design of the Akai samplers. I think the user interfaces. So I mean, the great David Cockrell was also very much involved, but Stephen was involved. I think was it the S1000 or S2000? When did I say S1000? I think might have been. His first one.
Yeah, and he did the NPCs as well, right up to the Z series. He was doing the user interfaces for.
A fabulous Welshman, a Welshman through and through, with a wonderful accent and a very expressive and quite great character, really.
Acerbic wit, I think, is probably yes. Yes, he was a legend and a mentor to me as well. And
right,
I was so we met for the first time, sort of like in real life. I think we shook hands at Synth Fest or something, but we kind of spent some time at his funeral. And I think it was also the first time that I'd actually met Alice, his daughter. And the one thing that Steve and I's conversations, we used to speak into the early hours of the morning, and he would just go on and on and on about how wonderful his daughter was and how fantastically she was doing, learning the violin, and she was brilliant. And it was just great to see someone who was so proud of his daughter. And she just last night, I think, she's just started a trial with the London Philharmonic Orchestra. She's that good. She's now in the London Philharmonic. So he would be so proud of that. So proud. So
that's amazing. Oh, that's wow.
Yeah. She is as good as he said she would be. And I'm the only thing is I'm so angry that he's not around to see it. But such is life. So there you go.
No, but then the first time I suppose the only time in person I met Kent was really interesting, wasn't it, Kent? Because it was also the first time I met in person Rich Hilton.
That's right, yeah.
So me and Rich were talking about meeting up when he was over. Back in
it was long ago.
2013, earlier.
It's got to be earlier than that. Yeah,
2011. Yeah, 20. Yeah,
no, before that.
2010 maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I got a great 2-for. Well, actually a 3-for because who else was there?
Shaker Dane.
Shaker Dane
was there. Yeah.
Yes, he was. So I got to see your workshop then, and that's the one that's now gone.
Yeah.
Oh wow! And you got pictures of the new one then. So
I'm going to grab those as your.
Apparently so. Yes.
Oh, yes. Exciting! All right, that's cool. All right,
I will grab that. Let me just do that now before I forget. But was this the same time as you tried to kill Rich Hilton?
No.
Oh, that was a different occasion.
No. I didn't get him the first time. It was the second time I tried to poison him.
Okay. You lulled him into a false sense of security.
Yeah. And if he comes over again next week, I'm just going to go straight for a knife or a gun, something more conventional at this time.
Isn't it astonishing, though? Because Rich has been in our world all this time, and seeing the sort of renaissance that Chic have gone through, right through to now being like the headline band on the big show that's just happened, the charity show, on broadcast on ITV mainstream show, and our Rich is there, isn't he?
And it's amazing that certainly in the last couple of weeks, Rich has been saying that over in America they're just like an opening act. They can't fill arenas in America, but over here and in Europe, they could fill the O2 easily.
I think
things have been changing for them though in the States, haven't they? And sadly, they were meant to be playing with Foo Fighters in Bogota.
Yeah,
unbelievable. So
we spoke about that last night on your thing, didn't we, Ken?
Yeah.
It's really shocking.
I wonder if it's a cultural thing.
Could be.
There's there seems more interest in 70s, 80s music here than there is in the States,
because we know good music.
Get Lucky did it. Get Lucky. We all knew how great that music was. Oh my goodness, it's been with me since it came out. I loved it. Bernard Edwards, bass player.
Tony Thompson.
Oh my God, specifically for me, Bernard.
Bass,
My God, what an amazing, incredible musician.
Yeah.
And obviously, the bass line of Good Times is possibly the greatest and most influential bass line of all time.
Yeah.
John Deacon thought so, I think. Yeah,
he did. Yeah. But it's the launch of hip hop, isn't it? That that Rapper's Delight, as Sugar Hill Gang is sort of so that bass line is just off the scale, really, just on how it's significant. Yeah. Of course, sadly, Rich was in Japan. They just played, didn't they? And when Bernard passed, So tough on the road when a band member loses. Anyway, that's a dark. and sad tributes to this and to Taylor, Taylor Hawkins,
gosh, yeah.
Unbelievably sad.
That hit hard, yeah. What a great drummer. What a great drummer.
You should come on to our show, Gaz, on a Thursday, because it does turn dark regularly.
Yeah.
You'll be really at home there. You'll be surrounded by lots of other dark people.
Let's lighten the mood here. Synth addict Andy, who was giving us a tour around a couple of US music stores last night on Kent's show. That was quite interesting to see. He goes into Guitar Center, and the only people other than Andy in Guitar Center were the staff, and they've got walls of synths and all this kind of stuff going on. And there's just literally nobody in the shop. It's crazy. But thank you for your donation. He said he only met Gaz once at NAMM 2020 at the Arturia booth.
Yes.
And he was as cool and as genuine as you would expect. Yeah.
The trick, it worked. It worked.
Let's have a quick look, shall we, at Kent's new shed.
Oh, wow.
The word shed is you'll get this when you see it. Look, this hasn't even had the floor put in yet, but look at this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Whoa!
Oh,
Doesn't that look amazing? Yeah.
Well, now the air conditioning's in it, so there's a big compressor out on the side there.
Nice.
Not this side, but the side nearest the fence there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is so nice. So there's got AstroTurf going to go right up to the porch there.
Nice.
Oh man.
Yeah. Wow. So
There
in the
you
past,
go.
then, Kent, have you been like shivering in that old place, like in the winter, and people all really angry wanting their synths back, and they go, and you're like shivering in your old place, trying to.
Well, it got to the point because I used to have 3 small, like fan heaters on, and it wasn't just to keep me warm; it was you had to get some sort of ground temperature going, otherwise you couldn't turn anything on because it would just be out of tune or wouldn't work. So I couldn't work until it was warm in there anyway. But it was costing like £300 a month in electricity just to heat. Yeah. So what I did was when Mum's dementia kicked in, and I was looking after her, so I brought most of the workshop that I could into the house and work in the house. Yeah. Which has carried on until today. So we've had a few squeaky moments where there's, it's standing room only because it's full of synthesizers in the front room.
And the toilet.
You have to move two CS80s out of the way so you can sit down and watch TV and stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
dear.
So this is going to be great. It's going to be lovely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome stuff. Brilliant. Well, there you go. Let's crack on and cover, because we've got some interesting things. I think we have a lot to talk about this show. I'm going to start with this one because this one got me very excited. I'm going to play the trailer for this, and I'm going to play it hopefully in its entirety without getting. Hopefully, I won't get a copyright strike on this, because I have to say, regardless of the product, whether you like it or not, I think it's a really nice piece of music that they've created for this. They haven't fallen into the trap of like something contemporary wub kind of style. It's a kind of a proper nice tune. So this is the new product from Sonicware, the Japanese company that introduced the Live and 8-bit and the XFM and the Beats and the Bass that's just come out. And this is SmplTrek. Let's play the demo for you now, because it's a very cool piece of gear. So I think we kind of get the idea now. Watch the video yourselves, because it's a really cool little tune that this guy puts together. He's an artist, lives out in Japan, and has put this video together for them. So this is SmplTrek. This is now. Me and Ben don't want to take any credit whatsoever for this, but if you go back into the annals of the ProSynth network history, you will find me and Ben discussing how great it would be if a company came up with a handheld battery-powered sampler that was actually all about sampling. It wasn't just a tack-on feature or sample playback. It was about putting something in somebody's hands, going out with a built-in microphone, or you can plug whatever you want into it and just go and record stuff and make stuff with it. And because we're both S6000 owners, we looked at the front panel of the S6000. That's the size it needs to be. Have something like that, and here we are. They've kind of done it. It's almost like they've read our minds. This is now on a Kickstarter. It has exceeded. It's like 400% funded, and if you get in the next few days, it's basically $299. So that's about 230 British pounds at the moment, at the current exchange rate, and so you'll get it at that price. And it was like over 500, I think, the last time I looked at the people that had backed this. So it's going to get made. It's going to be brilliant. And Evan from Sonicware said he was going to hang around and hopefully pop up in the chat to answer any questions that might come along. I did have one, and I've got the answer to that, so I'll broach that in just a moment. But let's just go around the room and see what we all think of this. So let's go to our guest first. Gaz, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked me, because I have got a lot of thoughts about this. I've been looking for something like this too. And, when the OP1 came out, it's like, which is an incredible instrument. The thing that made the OP1 particularly good was that whole kind of standalone nature, but also the battery nature of it also is very cool. I think this, it still relies on batteries that you have to put in. So you can, but it will run on rechargeable batteries, but it's not got a built-in lithium, which is a bit of a shame. That's my only sort of thing about it. The technology, that's what I'd like to have seen it, because the user experience, batteries are a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So you could power it off a USB brick with a MyVolts RIP cord. So that, I think, is a lot less of a hassle, isn't it? Than opening it up, getting the batteries out, putting them back in. Sorry to dwell on the negative, but that's the first thing. I'll just get that
absolutely.
away,
yeah.
Because I think that's a bit of a shame, because, for making it like the perfect thing. However, if you do that, it does make international sales a lot more complicated if you've got built-in power supplies.
Yes, yeah.
So blah, blah, blah. Moving on. However, what is super cool, because I call them infinity boxes. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for infinity boxes. I'm looking for something that you could make a banging dance tune on, but also you could do Strawberry Fields Forever.
Yeah.
So I've got this thing now that I'm calling it the Beatle test. So when I look at these kind of things, could you make a song like the Beatles? Could you be as good as the Beatles on it somehow? Could you do that? Could you put guitars in there? Could you put sort of vocals in there? And what's kind of cool with this is it's got 3 vocal tracks that can run the length of your project.
Yes.
And those tracks can all be made up of 8 takes that you can kind of comp together. So that opens up a really huge amount of interesting editing that normally those things don't, because they're all normally based on a pattern. Whatever the pattern length is, that's what you've got to do. So really, music isn't that. I've hated that, and I've really, really been angry about that as a thing, that these things keep making everything, there's no overlap.
Yeah, quite.
Nothing that starts kind of, like a bar before it comes in and it crosses that line. Everything is kind of divided. So you can do things. Now, I've got questions about whether you can make mix downs internally and then drop them into those full length tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Because that, I think, would be really interesting, because there is mastering effects in there, I think, as well.
There's about 30 DSP effects built in the box, isn't there?
So can that mean that you can do a render through the DSP internally? So that would be quite...
Yeah. Well, Evan is in the chat, so hopefully he'll give us a response to that.
Okay. So just briefly then, what else I'd like to say about it is, having the built-in speaker and the built-in microphone, you can be like a bit snobby about that, but there is line ins and outs as well, so you can connect quality gear to it as well. So having that thing there, that built-in speaker, you know, I've said on Sonic loads of times, I'm a fan of built-in speakers, just because, you know, it sort of makes it real for me. It doesn't. Yeah. It means that it just is. You don't have to fart around with getting everything. If you just got like a pair of in-ear, it's so annoying when you're out somewhere. You want someone to listen. You don't want to give your in-ears to anyone else. No way, Jose. So built-in speakers is a bit of a win, really. So yeah, I think this thing looks really, really good at that price. It seems amazing. I think the black box by 1010 would be the closest thing I can think of. Although that you can't put batteries in that, you can power it off a USB brick.
Right.
And that's what they expect people to do, I think, with that particular thing. It's smaller. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't have built-in speakers or a built-in mic. So that, what you were talking about, Robbie, was like about that thing about having that dedicated, you can just sample straight into it. That built-in mic, I think, is the really important thing.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
In the video, the guy just does some singing into it. I think there's enough DSP that you could mess around with what you put in through that microphone to always get interesting sounds.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So big thumbs up for me. I think this looks amazing. At that price, it seems like just like a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Evan has just said in the chat they are currently discussing comping features. So that's something I guess you can just tweak in the software.
Talk to me. Get in touch with me. I've been working on these things for years. I've got big ideas. Get in touch with me. Honestly,
there you go.
Do. Yeah,
ProSynth Network always doing this with people.
Yeah,
we did it last week, didn't we? We did it last week. We put Eric Norlander in touch with Mr. Fernandez. They haven't spoken for years, so we're always putting people in touch. So they're currently discussing it, and it's not 100% apparently, but it is highly requested. Yeah.
So I would really like to see this become a real Infinity Box contender. So why I'm saying Infinity Box, just to get away from Groovebox.
Yes.
I think Groovebox is this horrible sort of reductive name that I think's had its day now. Yeah. So what's crucial for something to be an Infinity Box really is being able to essentially make anything on it. Like, so if you wanted to make a Beatles kind of song, you could, with at least having 3 tracks with some clever bounce downs and that sort of thing. If you can implement that properly, then it becomes like a 4-track, like a Porter Studio or something where, people made albums on those things, didn't they? So you've got to be able to make a complete thing and be able to do it really, really well. So people want to,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a look at these specs, because these specs are pretty good for something that's basically going to cost you $300. So maximum polyphony, 30 voices, 48 kilohertz 16-bit sampling. It doesn't mention about doing like lo-fi sampling in there, because I know somebody in the chat has just said it would be great if it could do like 12-bit kind of sampling, which would be interesting. But it has 2 gigabytes, so it's basically 180 minutes in stereo built in, and then you can stick an SD card in there as well to store stuff on. Everything's done in WAV. You've got resampling, auto slicing, time stretching, pitch changing, all in there. Then with the sequencer, you've got 16. So a song project has 16 scenes. Each scene, 10 sequencer tracks, 3 audio tracks, and you can have, of those 10 sequencer tracks, they can be any combination of loops, shots, drums, instruments, or MIDI piano roll style tracks. 128 steps per scene. I mean, I could go on. 30 types of effects, insert, send, and master effects. So yeah, I think that answers that question. 15 velocity sensitive pads, controllers, 5 knobs, directional pad, OLED display, built-in mic, built-in speaker, input and output jacks, all balanced, headphones, USB port. I'm going to come onto that in just a second.
Balanced, So.
Yeah. Full-size MIDI ports as well, audio sync in and sync out, power connector, and of course it's powered by batteries, and it's dinky really, but in terms of size. Now the MIDI port, this was my first and only, I think, sort of not complaint as such, but mild concern. But I've had that concern kind of alleviated. So I'm not a fan, as many people are not either, of micro USB ports on some of these instruments. It's not the sturdiest of physical connections.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen USB-C.
Yeah.
Not saying it's in any way inherently better. It just fills me with a bit more confidence. Better would have been my USB-B, the big square one, because that has a lot. Yeah, it just gives you a little bit of sense of security. But I mean, I've got Sculpt and Craft synth. I've got the Uno stuff, and they all go off micro USB. And whilst they've never failed on me, I just don't have a huge amount of confidence in them. Now, I did raise this with Evan, and basically, it's a thing about cost. So USB-C is inherently more expensive than micro USB, and it's about availability. And in these current times, part and component availability is a kind of a key thing these days. So it's kind of that really. So it's availability and cost. And look, if that's the only thing that I've got to complain about with this, I'm happy, because they've got my credit card details now anyway. So I can't really complain too much about that. And I need to update. This thing has gone crazy. The total value of the Kickstarter, the target was just over 31,000. They're at 175,000 odd pounds already. 764 backers, and that's in 2 days. Yeah, these guys, this is getting made, and this is going to be great. Benjamin, have you ordered one?
I haven't yet, but after hearing Gaz talking about it, that's what I'm going to do when I finish on the show. He's right though. It's so much more than a portable sampler. It's a Porter Studio. It'll do. I'd like to see it have. I know they've made this perfect device. It's at like a ridiculous price point, and we're criticising it. All of us are criticising it. But this is like a dream come true.
Yeah.
Device. It is a Porter Studio. It's got built-in effects. It's a sampler. It's a MIDI. You can't think of a scenario where you wouldn't find this useful. I could gig with this. It'd run all the MIDI for the lights, and it'd have the audio tracks in there that are needed, and it's got effects in it. I think it's a superb product.
Yes.
I would like to see it have 4 audio tracks, just because I really like the idea of that Porter Studio thing. It's
curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 10 sample tracks and 3 audio tracks. That's 13 tracks. Have you ever heard of a 13-track record before?
No. I know,
Maybe it's a Japanese thing about, lucky numbers, because they're very, they like their numbers. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. I'll just make that up.
Can I just go off on one a moment? The other day, I was playing a gig, amazing gig with Rumbelows on Saturday night in Bristol. That's my surf band that I play in. Brilliant gig. Filmed it all, so got the whole concert recorded.
Nice.
So I'm really pleased about that. So hopefully that'll be available soon to watch. I was just pretending. I can't remember the reason why, but I was just pretending that the number 11 was the least interesting. Oh, I know why. It was our 10th anniversary of the Rumbelows, because we've been together that long. But we haven't. We've been together 11 years, I realised. And then said, why are you doing this 10th? Well, 11 is the least popular number from 1 to 12. They said, is it? I said, yeah, I'll prove it. And I went and asked everyone. I asked about 20 odd people, and no one said 11. So it just completely it sort of backed me up. So number 11 fans, please, can you what's the comeback on that?
Tell us in the chat. Brilliant. Ken, have you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, what a brilliant little piece of kit.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I'm sort of like I'm not going to be the target audience, because I remember the days when I used to, armed with a cassette deck and a little condenser mic, going on a sample hunt. But those days are behind me now. So, but what a brilliant little piece of kit! Yeah. I must admit, some of the feature choices on it, I think, is probably when it's at the R&D stage, there's a few places where they're going to be backed into a corner. And determining they want to do one thing but they can't because of either availability or shipping regulations and all this sort of rubbish and stuff like that. But yeah, it's got an awful lot of stuff crammed into a little box, and it's clearly a need for this. The crowdfunding alone shows that there's a lot of people who want to be able to go back out and start hitting people's swing chairs with mole grips and throwing bricks through windows and stuff.
Well, this was the reason why when I said this, because I'm a huge sampling fan and have been for since 1980 something, when I got my VSS 200, and just sampling anything and trying to make something musical out of it. That to me is the essence of sampling. It's not about copying something off a record, or it's about making new sounds and making music out of things where you wouldn't initially find it. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great if there was something you could just like put in your pocket, or even a small bag, and when you're out and about and you hear something or you think, oh, that would sound nice, then you could just sample it there and then, rather than walking around with a digital recorder and then coming home sticking it in, because you're probably going to forget about it. It's just that instant kind of motivation
you have
to
the
make
opportunity
something
to do something with that
there
sound
and then
when you've done it.
You think that would make a great shaker, or that would make a great kick sound. Let's see it. Let's do it. Here it is. Let's try it.
Get that sketch together and then you take it home with you.
I just seriously, I cannot wait. I think they're going to start shipping around September, late 2022, and I hate wishing time away at my age. I daren't, but I just can't wait for this to come out. I'm so stoked for it. Ever since they started teasing it, I thought, this is going to be good. And I can vouch for Sonicware's quality. I've got a Live and XFM. It is built really well. It's complicated. It's not the easiest of interfaces to get into, but it sounds great. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it's like ridiculously affordable. Which is just great. So I was speaking with Evan before we came on the show. Evan has agreed to come on to the show, and hopefully, I don't know if Chris Lodi or Chris Dodsworth is his full name, who does a lot of the sound design. He's based over here in the UK. He does a lot of sound design for Sonicware. I'm not sure if Evan's approached him yet, but I've asked them both to come on the show. So we're looking at around June, because that's the earliest we can fit them in. But that's somewhere in the middle of production. We might get an update in terms of things going on there. So watch this space.
Can I say something more about it before you move to the top?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
If you see on the Kickstarter page, there's a bit where there's a guy sitting on the sofa, and he's doing like a kind of Game Boy type thing on a piano roll. And this is something that's been, I suppose, it's been in a lot of our minds for a long time, about that idea of being able to be like really Nintendo thumbs good and piano roll editing. And I've tried loads of things over the years to do that, including stuff on the Game Boy. There's still something extremely exciting about if they can get that right. You're doing that with samples, so that is infinite. It's just like infinite what it can be, and it can take the samples off the SD card, so your SD card could be absolutely massive, so the sample library you could have on that thing could be huge. And then if you could kind of do that Game Boy thing with that, that's that's really exciting.
It is. That guy there, that's Endo. That's the man behind Sonicware itself. He's the head man. So he comes from used to work for Zoom, so he's apparently that whole kind of multi-track digital recording thing is in his blood, and they've got ex-Korg employees in there, and
it's a winner. It's a winner.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Absolutely got to be. We wish them the very best of luck, and I don't think we need to, because everything they've done has just been successful.
I tell you what, really important question then for Evan is stereo. Can you group those global tracks stereo?
Okay.
Yeah, because they look like they might be 3 mono tracks, but I mean, if you could only run 3 tracks, could you run it as 1 stereo and 1 mono?
Interesting.
But it needs that stereo track.
That's why I was saying 4, so you could stereo bounce.
Maybe that's why there's 3: 1 mono, 2 stereo, 2 for the stereo. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Yeah,
interesting. Well, there you go. It's hopefully he'll pick up on that, and we'll get an answer. We'll be able to publish that into the show. But there you go. That is the Sonicware SmplTrek. It is coming out, I believe, in September of this year. It's going to ship around estimated September 2022. If you want to back it, you can do so now at kickstarter.com/projects/Sonicware, and you'll find them on there. The current pledge price, it's 35,500 yen, which works out currently the exchange rate of around £221, or about $299 US. You've got, I think, 3 more days to get it at that price. Then after that, it goes up to about £300, and that's about yeah.
One
Still
more
cheap.
question. Stereo. You said they're balanced, so they're like quarter-inch tracks in and out, balanced.
Yes.
Unbalanced, I guess. Obviously, so you can do them balanced, unbalanced. So connecting them, 2 balanced jacks into XLRs, you've got proper live, amazing sort of. The sound engineers are going to love you for that.
Yeah. So the inputs are line guitar switchable at 10K, and
CI.
And then line gain is negative 20 dB, high Z gain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's got the eye on it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, holy crap! And with them being balanced,
just gets better.
Good
Doesn't it?
thoughts about this one. Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Evan has just said in the chat, the tracks are all stereo as of now.
So it's
Whoa,
three stereo tracks. That's 6 tracks.
No. I tell you what, if that's 3 stereo tracks, this thing, I'm buying one. That's ridiculous. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
If you can, if that's absolutely. Whoa.
I think we found our new favourite toy for the year.
So if you can make a mix down, and then you can copy and paste and move stuff around on that global track, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's because there's like Doors have spoilt us for years. They've been so all-conquering. They're God, the Zeus of they could just do everything. But those of us who love hardware, it's like when it comes to it, virtually, all the professional work I do is in the box, or on stage. These devices are just mostly for fun or for, because you can take them so far, but when it comes to it, the DAW will, just makes more sense.
Yeah.
But if you can get a tune to the end level that you need it to, and in a lot of the case, all you need to do is like a mix down of a couple of attempts at it, and then just edit them together, crossfade, the best bit of that one into that one. You can do that inside the box as well. Then that's the business then, man. Because that's why, or if there's a mistake or a bit, you can just cut it out, crossfade in a little bit, fix it up, do that without having to go into the computer. That's the thing, innit? Computers takes us into our work life, takes us into our personal life, takes us away from music just by the nature of interacting with the device that does that. And as much as, because I did Sonic Touch for years with SonicState about the iPad, which is so exciting. It was such an exciting time. The creativity and the ideas that were going on that platform at that point in time, 2011, 2012, and 2000. I think we went up to about 2014, the main run with that, but it just captured a moment in time where there was just the most incredible explosion of creative ideas. Fantastic. But ultimately, the failing is not the failing. I mean, because they go and brilliant as they are. But just, I think in some ways is still in that computer, social media connected realm. And music, to get really away is about closing that down. Yeah. Take it out of your studio. I used to have my studio computer back in the day. I used to have to sort of, if I wanted to go online, I'd have to shut it down and then boot it up again into one that would allow me to go online.
Yeah. And
it was because going online, did I get more stuff done back then?
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, well, there you go. So that is Sonicware's SmplTrek, available to back now, which has been back to the hilt anyway, but get in quickly to get the cheapest possible price, and then it starts to kind of go up in elements from there. This is something that I can't personally comment on, this next one, but we do have somebody who can, or at least one person who can, this announcement that that ROLI have released the Seaboard Rise 2. Let's take a little look at the teaser video for this. There you go. That's the new re-engineered, refined, and reimagined ROLI Seaboard 2, coming from the newly reorganised company that now goes under a slightly different name. I believe they go under an umbrella company, but this is the Mark II. So I'm going to go straight to our resident ROLI owner, Kent. You've ordered one of these, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you've got a Mark 1 as well. You've got a Mark 1 already.
God, it's a Mark 1 now, isn't it?
Yeah. Vintage now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, what I've done is I've bought another ROLI Rise, but sprayed grey.
It's a little bit more than that, isn't it? Because it's got different contours to the keys and the whole surface.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, yeah. I mean, they put the USB-C on it instead of the old square USB B, which kept breaking, and I had to keep taking it apart and resoldering it to the board. And in the end, I just used flying leads on it and bolted it in place because it was just such a pain. Yes, it probably still won't connect to Windows properly, which is more Windows' fault than ROLI. I mean, it connects to the iPad and the Mac Mini and stuff like that, even when you don't want it to. You know, you could be down at shops and it'll connect to it, and it's really good for that. So this is why I knew that SWIDI was going to be good.
Yeah,
because sort of like I'm quite happy with that. I'm not worried about latencies and stuff because I wasn't getting it with ROLI. Mm-hmm. Again, it's one of those type of machines that you're either comfortable playing them or you're not.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it's something that is better for people who are talented in the keyboard performance department traditionally, or is this something that anybody can really get something out? I mean, you clearly have chops. I don't feel that this I don't feel that this would be something I could get the best out of.
Oh no, you can mess about with it. I mean, if you're using it like a glide board and stuff like that, it's great fun because it's a polyphonic glide board.
True.
And just by you can put like sound effects on it or soundscapes, and you can play around with that and change various aspects and mix in different sounds and all that sort of thing through pressure. Or any of the 5 points of control. So when obviously you probably go for a block rather than a rise to do that.
Okay.
Because it's if you're going to use it for that, you probably won't need 49 keys. 29 or whatever it is on the block is good enough. If you want to actually play stuff, then 49er, the rise is probably what you go for. And the synths that come with it, I think it was Probe 2 and Equator 2, and there was an old one. I think they stopped making it, but that was really good. I could get some convincing CS80 sounds on it where people actually thought I was playing an 80. And I'm going, no, that's what was it called? I can't remember what
I think Richard gave us a demo of it, didn't he, when he was on?
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it now.
So it was more like I think Equator's like sampler, rumpler kind of bit of software.
The other one's got more like modelling, wasn't it?
And the other one was more modelling. But the early one they did, it was really really sort of analog sounding.
Yeah.
But it was all F expansion stuff anyway. So yeah, it's been great fun. Yes, you have to spend a good 4 or 5 days playing the hell out of it until you're bored stiff to get the muscle memory going for it.
Yeah.
I found it's good to play them in the dark, so you can't see the keyboard.
Okay.
And that way you sort of learn, you feel the keyboard rather than look at the keys, because there's no point looking at the keys because they're all black. You can't always see the key that you're aiming for.
Yeah, it does look at I mean, the keys have been redesigned, so they've got more of a sculpted ridge, whereas the others, it just seemed to be sort of like lumps, didn't it? This has kind of got a bit more, going on in terms of being able to find where you are.
Well, I mean, where the ridges are, that will help no end, especially if you're playing it in the dark or in a very poorly lit stage or something. But I mean, because the blocks had a much wider flat surface on the top. But the thing is, one of those touch sliders there, I think it's the far left one. It's like training wheels. If you widen that down, it's far more forgiving in the resolution of where your finger goes on the keyboard. So what you can do is like wind it down, play it, and then as you get more and more proficient, slowly bring it up more until you get up to big boy, and then take the trainers off and off you go.
I see.
So you don't have to sound like you've like you don't know how to play at all. Which is what it sounds like when you first try them out. It really does. It doesn't matter how proficient you are. In fact, the more proficient a keyboard player you are, the worse it sounds when you get it out the box.
Right. Well, I suppose,
I might be all right then.
Yeah. I'll put my order in now. Gaz, are you a Seaboard guy?
Robbie Bronneman lent me his for a while, his Seaboard Rise 25, and I did enjoy it, but I think for me it's the attack issue, and that's the thing that sort of I prefer other. I'm really excited about the Osmos from
of course, yes.
I think that's the one. That's the best I've ever experienced. I think the Seaboard is brilliant, but I think the Seaboard is almost a bit like a tuba or something. A tuba is a really distinct instrument. It's a beautiful instrument that can do loads of things, but it doesn't do everything. So the Seaboard is sort of, it's quite a specific instrument, because the attack, I think you can't get away from it. When you play a guitar, for instance, and if you play with a plectrum and you hit the edge there, you can feel that attack. And that's why a lot of guitarists are really super sensitive about latency, because that sort of super attack, you hit that string, and you got the note, it's like that. And I think the kind of squishy nature of ROLIs means that even if you had like no velocity on there, you're still going into a kind of softish surface as opposed to like a hard surface. So the attack, so I mean, probably my inexperience with ROLIs messing with the absolute fine intensity of the attack to get that right. But that's the thing that I found that I just really, I don't know, that's why I think it didn't completely do it for me. But I do love it. And when I was doing chords and slow and evolving stuff with it, I mean, it's amazing. It just, it's incredible. And then when you really use the texture, that squidgy texture for things that's kind of applicable for, then it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm guessing that was Marco Parisi it was. Yeah. And I always wonder whether he's the best kind of, best person to demonstrate this. In a way, he's the most perfect person, because he's a virtuoso with it, and he really, really, I just think something clicked. He could do that from the beginning. He was always great. But I wonder sometimes if that kind of thing puts people off a little bit, because it's sort of like, wow, you do need to be. It's not just it being able to do that; it's being able to think in that acrobatic way to kind of perform in such a manner. However, the fact that you can do that, and I know Rich Hilton is a huge fan of the Parisi brothers. I think I think the Seaboard is an incredible musician's instrument. But just coming back to my earlier analogy of it being like a tuba, I think that's probably a better way of thinking about it, as opposed to this like singular thing that will just dominate your your workflow and sort of life.
Yeah. Cool. Ben, can you see Electromantics going out live with one of these?
Not at all, no. It's really interesting, but I've never used one. I've got no idea what it feels like to play. It looks a bit weird. I know it looks like the Mark 1, but it's slightly refined. Why have the sharps and flats got like white on them? And
those are the ridges. I think it's more for placement, isn't it?
It's a bit. Yeah. That's a bit confusing. That I think it's confusing anyway. I would have done it the other way around. But I'd like to have a go. I think the potential of it's great, but I think the Osmos one is probably more for me because it's more. Like Gaz said, to me this would be like learning a new instrument, and it's the reason why I don't have a wing controller. And I play keyboards, and I don't want to try and get stuff in on a different device. So the Expressive E, or what I think that's what it's called, that is more traditional keyboard style, isn't it? But you can still do a lot of this kind of expression with it, and I think that's more for me. But as well, the confusion with ROLI. I mean, the brand is a little bit damaged, I think, from what we've heard recently. Yeah. So I'd also be a bit wary of buying because of that. It's like a while ago they was on about that ROLI might not exist anymore, and now they're bringing out this new controller, the Rise 2 or whatever it's called, and is it going to be supported in 12 months?
Is it going to be delivered? I mean, Kent, you said that you placed your order. You're in batch 2 because they've kind of limited the batches to certain regions, and you're not scheduled to get yours until November. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I think Richards is November as well.
Yeah,
but he's batch 3, and we were going, hey.
Yeah, but it might be different batches for different territories, because I remember them saying that they're kind of limiting, sort of limited production. But it's £1,099, whatever that is in dollars.
49 keys. It's for the 49.
49, yes, yeah.
There is a thing on where you can get, I think it's about 285 quid back.
Yes, there's a coupon, isn't there, or something?
They still haven't sent me the coupon, so
no.
So I'm going
free shipping, by the way, and you can cancel any time for a full year refund. It comes with a 1-year warranty. Hopefully, the company's still around to honour that should you need it. And it comes with the software and the ROLI Studio and a huge amount of presets and everything.
It's interesting. We thought ROLI were maybe going, so to see this coming back is a surprise, and a welcome surprise.
Absolutely, Nobody wants to see an innovative company go under, but
not at all.
Well, when you look at the history of ROLI, in terms of its financing, it's a little.
Well, me and Richard buying this is twofold, because one is like, it's nice to have the new one and get the USB-C instead of that horrible other one. But there's also this thing of he's got a couple of notes that don't quite respond as well as the other ones do now, and it's sort of like parts, forget it. So this is sort of like a way of being able to keep these things going on. We've invested all this time now into learning how to use these machines.
Yes.
So we're kind of trapped in it. But as soon as the Osmos is available, I'm having one.
Because you've got one of those on order as well, haven't you? So.
I might have. I'll have to check my emails. I think you have. I'm
pretty sure you have.
Yeah.
Have you played one? Have you played? Anyone else played an Osmos? By the way?
No, not had the fortune. You played one at Superbooth last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and honestly, I was a bit over enthusiastic. Maybe I couldn't contain. I couldn't contain it because it's so delivered. And do you know what was absolutely amazing about it was, may I use the term a gossamer touch, because that's all was needed to kind of sound, to get a sound out of it. So like you can literally just gently rest your fingers and then just apply this soft. And it's responsive, and then
I'm getting aroused.
But then that's the thing. It's just like from that musical expressivity point of view, it really feels like the that you can really, I don't know, be very.
Well, in fairness, you can get that from the Rise as well. When you mess around with the dashboard and change some of the parameters of the way the keyboard reacts. Like for instance, you were talking about the attack. I've done things where what I've done is I've just used the release touch to be the attack. So you just whack it, and when it's your finger coming off the key, gives you the attack.
Ah,
you know what I mean?
clever.
Rather than hitting the board hard.
Yeah,
you just go bang like that, and you got it. So then when you start, you know how you the thumb of the guitar, the bass guitar. And you do that with your thumb on the keyboard, and that's it. There's your attack. But it's your thumb coming off the keyboard, not going on.
Yes, because he's a good one. He's a good one. Aren't we lucky to have him?
Yeah. But that took months to find, because in terms of any sort of like authoritative sort of explanation on how to use these rubber sex toys. Nothing. There's people going, oh yeah, look at me play this, aren't I brilliant? But dude, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm playing it. Yeah, but what did you do? What did you set up? It's none of that. Doesn't seem to be much of that around. So it needs a good tutorial.
Good question here from Dieter. Because you've mentioned this before. Will the new ROLI still sag if stored vertically? Because you mentioned this, that by storing it vertically, it has this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because I did have a very early one, and when half the keyboards sort of like just ballooned up and wasn't touching the circuit board anymore, I'm going, this isn't good. This is Slate Raven all over again. And so I phoned them up and did I think it was a TikTok. It's the only time I've used TikTok, but I videoed them showing them what was up, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, no, don't store them vertically. Could you put that in the instructions, please?"
The manual.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I have to confess, I have actually eaten. I have tasted that stuff that the ROLI made on, and that was at Synth Reactor at Toman back in 2019, and it was a Look Mum No Computer, Sound Battles, and a bunch of us. Well, Ben Divkit, he was there, so he is kind of implicated in this as well, and cut it up, broke it, pulled it apart, and then as soon as I saw it there, for me it was a bit like the special bit in a Jaffa cake, it's like, and it was quite like it. So and then instinctively, I think three of us did it more or less instinctively. We saw it, all of us put a piece in our mouth, which is really, but all I know, incredibly stupid, which I think we probably are.
Yes, don't do this at home.
Impulsively. But it did actually taste quite nice. It sort of had a bit of a sweetness to it. I reckon I could eat a couple of keys, I reckon. But
you need a recipe.
But it was there was a chap from ROLI who was there, and he was just looking, as we were like destroying his product.
And now they're eating it. They're like cannibals.
I've heard of being into synthesizers, but quite. Yes. Anyway, let's move on. That's the ROLI Seaboard Rise 2. It is available to pre-order now. If you order now, apparently you go into batch 6, which ships in December. So get in there quick if you want one this year. But ROLI.com, and you can get loads more information about that. Let's do a quick one here. We are big fans of Spitfire audio, as anybody that watches the show knows, and we always love when they add one of these to the library. This is another free library for the Labs tool. It's called Micah's Choir, and this one is actually rather nice. Let me just I'll put the demo on in the background here while we talk about this. So this was created by Sons of Serendip, or a member of a pop quartet called Sons of Serendip. And when they were not able to perform, they started to sample their voices, and particularly Micah himself. And they produced this lovely collection of this kind of human voice, and it's just really, really nice. And of course, because it's labs, it's free, and it comes in the wonderful Spitfire audio interface. Just go and download that now from Spitfire. Any quick thoughts on this? I mean, it's so nice just hearing this. Anyone got any opinions on this?
I think it's lovely, yeah.
Very clanad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Carry on.
I'm getting distracted by the sound of it.
Sorry, it's finished.
It's got a really unique character to it, and it's going to be really useful, I think. There's a warp section of samples as well, like warp fraction and stuff.
And there's loops and stuff.
There's loop versions of the sound. I agree. I think it is one of the best labs sample releases that we've had so far. Free.
Yeah, nice to see Simon in the chat here saying, "Oh, it's the Clenadotron," which it is very nice.
It's brilliant. Nice. I was playing with it just before we went live with the show, and it's a really inspiring sound, and it's like it gets you like playing like backing vocal lines and all kinds, and the loops are flawless, really. I think there was one of them I could just catch something with it on the vibrato, but the rest of them was just perfectly looped, and it's a cracking addition to an already great collection for me.
I know that just gets from strength to strength. It's almost like one a month now, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah, you like this, Gaz? Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Lab series. I think it's amazing. I love it because I feel that we can be really cynical about a company's kind of when things are free. Is it free, or is it in free as in free beer, or really free? And I think it's really. I think the Spitfire business model is kind of really obvious. It's kind of. And then we can do this, and we can give you this, and it gets people on the platform, start looking at what else they do. It's fantastic, and it's an everyone wins kind of situation.
Absolutely,
so good. One little bonus of the labs, I'm not sure exactly what's happened there, some little handshake, but expert sleepers can have the labs as part of the Disting EX module, so you can have access to those lovely lab sounds in the Disting module as well, which I've got and I've used a lot. So my relationship with labs is through that more than anything else.
Absolutely.
And all of their releases have got incredible musical value. This I haven't tried this one yet, but I mean, I can just hearing that is just amazing. But we've had loads of sort of preset stuff thrown at us a lot of the time, and these sounds, you have to sift through them looking for the musicality, and that's why I don't really do presets, because I don't get off on that. However, with the labs, the musicality is just there straight away. You play them, you play around with them, and just music comes out. Going through a lot of presets, it's like, it's almost the opposite. It's like, it's not turning me on. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. That one's all right. Okay. I found something, and but you don't get that with labs. It's just like everything. It's just beautiful, and you can just, whether you'd use that particular thing in your own music, it's sort of by the by in a way. But it's just the fact that it just instantly gives you musical sensation.
Yeah, and as we've often said on the show, that if you're a young person, like my son is 16, he's doing his music technology GCSE. We're not minted. We can't give him. Well, I spend too much money on my own synths. I can't buy him any, but he can now have access on his iMac. This whole suite of instruments completely free of charge, really simple to use, like you say, instantly inspiring, instantly usable. I mean, gosh, if we had that stuff when we were young, the kids these days don't know how good they've got it.
Well, I tell you what, it makes like no apology, like pirate software. There's no,
exactly. You don't need to.
You don't need to. And like people use that as a justification a lot of the time,
Yeah.
you know. But now you really don't need to. There's so many free things out there. You know? So, yeah.
Kent, you like your ethereal kind of ambient-y type stuff. I'm sure this appeals to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know this thing was out. So while Gaz was talking, I downloaded it. And I just loaded it up into my Cubase. And I think it's only about 400 meg.
Oh, it's tiny, yeah.
Yeah, and it was, it sounded like really nice. I was going, nice. So, yeah, so I can try that out in a minute.
Good stuff.
Looks like the
good
business.
stuff. Yeah, it is. It's just great. Ben?
I've already spoke about it.
You haven't you? I've just completely...
But no, it's fine. I'll reiterate
what you said. Yes, round up for us.
It's great. It's got a lovely character to it. Like Gaz said, it's very musical. And even if you don't use it in your own stuff, it sounds great as it is. But you can transform it into what you want with effects, and it's a great bass level to go from. You know, it's got a wonderful tone to it. I'll definitely be using it on stuff. I know that. It was inspiring me as soon as I loaded it up. So
yeah, it's got one of those.
Yeah, it's great.
It's definitely a feel thing there. So there you go. That is the new library from Spitfire Labs. It's labs.spitfireaudio.com. It's called Micah's Choir. It's available free of charge. I think all you have to do is just download the Spitfire Audio app and then just download it from there. It's a lovely, lovely thing. Before we go any further, I just want to do this because our friend Jim Glue, who has very kindly donated £10, wishing us a happy 2nd birthday. Thank you very much, even though we forgot about it ourselves. But he also asked us if we could give this organisation's charity release a bit of a plug, because he appears on it as well, but there's a whole bunch of other artists on there. It's called it's arranged by an organisation called Modulate TV, who I believe are based in North Wales, and it's all the benefits from the sale of this will go to the various Ukraine type charities. Let me just bring the screen up here, and then I can share that with you. There we go. That's the one I want. So it's called Sounds for Freedom. So it's organised by Modulate TV, who are up in North Wales, and there's a good 25 tracks on there from lots of different artists. There's number 23 from James Glue just there at the bottom there, Bracing for Waves. You can buy this for £5 British pounds or more if you wish to donate even more, because all the proceeds do go to charities supporting the effort to help people, that have been sort of at the mercy of the war in Ukraine. So please do go and buy that and donate a bit of money. Get 25 great pieces of music to boot. So there you go. Sounds for Freedom. It's modulatetv.bandcamp.com. I think Sass had posted the link in the chat room. I'm sure he'll post it again, but please do that. And thank you very much, Jim, once again for your donation. It's much appreciated there. We seem to have lost our guest. I don't know where he's gone. Hopefully he'll come back soon. But yeah, there we go. So let's see, what should we do next? We've done labs. We've got... Let's just sneak this one in, because I thought we might have some information about this, but it doesn't appear to have come through. So if you're in France, there is Synthfest France, which has just kicked off today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's been off for like a couple of years. I think they do a virtual one last year. I can't remember. But anyway, there's lots of French developers there, and one of them is a company called Kodamo, which we're big fans of, but me particular, because I invested in the Essence FM, and it's a fantastic instrument. And they have, for the last year or so, been teasing something new, and it's now called the Kodamo Infini. And this is what it looks like. We don't know what it sounds like yet, though. I'm told that it has FM in the engine. It also has formants, which is very interesting, because if you are familiar with the FS1R from the late 1990s from Yamaha, that combined FM with formants, and it was something. It was a combination that kind of received the approval of Dr. John Channing, the father of FM. He said that was like the most logical progression is to combine those two. But it also incorporates something called bit masks, and I really don't know what that means or what it entails or what it does to the sound. But it looks like they've taken this very sturdy build with the touchscreen paradigm that they had with the Essence FM, and hopefully we'll have some more information on this soon. But this looks like a really interesting piece of equipment, and Stefan at Kodamo and his team have come up with something that looks very interesting, even though we don't quite know what it sounds like. But any quick thoughts on this one before we move on to the next topic?
Just it looks interesting. It looks
yeah.
great, doesn't it? That touch screen thing looks quite similar to what's in the Essence FM, and that'll be interesting. But yeah, we'll have to see just exactly what it offers. The formant thing will be an interesting addition. It'd be nice for it to be quite a unique instrument. That's something I'd like to see. I think a lot of things are just rehashing things. It'd be nice for something to have quite a unique sound. Yeah, quite optimistic about this one.
So, do we know what the touchscreen technology is? Is it the same as in the previous one?
I believe so. Yeah. So it's a really high quality capacitive screen.
Yeah.
That's very fast responsive.
Response. Okay. Yeah.
Multi-touch. Yeah.
That's the thing. When you see like a big touchscreen like that, having had the experience of iPads now for 10 or so more years, 12 years, whatever, and smartphones for longer, there's an expectation now. So a new product coming out in 2022 can't have in any way a laggy or inaccurate touchscreen. That sort of stuff has to be a given that is good.
Yes.
And it also has to talk in the touch language that we've all become accustomed to. So when you use it, it works exactly as you'd kind of expect it to.
Yeah.
And I think going forward, manufacturers need to be very mindful about that, I think, because it's sort of like if you're going to use technology, you've got to use the right, the good stuff as and not like a backwards step. I think one of the glorious things about digital synthesis is the fact that you can do like innovative stuff. I thought it was quite interesting then, the mixture of formant with FM then was making me think, although a different process, but like how the D50 worked with using very short samples for attacks, and things that the kind of more analog modeling thing or was poorer at. So you combine the two of those and then you get this really interesting best of both worlds kind of thing. So that was my initial thought there. But I think if it's coming out and is bringing something that's a kind of under used or we haven't had much experience with, it makes it really vital and good and part of the pantheon of things that sort of take stuff forward, which the ROLI Seaboard is has achieved that. So
there is actually a video. I'm not going to play it because I haven't watched it myself, so I'm not entirely sure of where things are and if there's a decent demonstration. But certainly looks there's a physical prototype for this thing now. So if you go to the Synthfest France website, which is synthfestfrance.com, you can then get the links to their YouTube channel there. But maybe we'll cover this next week and we'll speak about it in a bit more detail. But the one thing, because I'm a huge fan of the FS1R and eventually managed to get one at a not too extortionate price. And when you combine FM with formants, something magical does happen. And I was really disappointed that when Yamaha introduced the Modi X and the FMX engine on the montage and that they basically took the FM engine out of the FS1R and plonked it in those. And they left the formant stuff behind. And if they'd have brought that in, they could have been onto a real winner. Because that really does make a difference.
And they had been using that then in their previous thing then?
Yes, I think, so we were talking to Manny some while ago. when they were programming the presets for the montage and the Modi X, they were using FS1Rs. Yamaha actually went out and bought up. This is why the price of the modules went up so high, because Yamaha went out and bought up all of the FS1R modules that were available on eBay to use as patch development machines for the Modi X and the montage. So we got those two. Yamaha actually bumped the price of their own used goods up. But there you go. But yeah, it was this seems to be a very interesting thing, and I can vouch for the quality and the service behind the products, because we're on to version 6 firmware on the Essence FM. They're updating it maybe once every month or two, with a few bug fixes where they found them, adding new features all the time and improving on stuff. They're very responsive. So when this launches, you're not going to be just like getting something that's... There is a trend nowadays, isn't there, to release stuff, and it's almost like the customer is now the beta tester. But with Kodamo, I found that it's not actually, you're not fixing so many bugs. They're just improving it all the time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But maybe we'll speak about that in a bit more detail next week, once we've all had a chance to maybe listen to it and figure out what's going on. Because I think Eric posted in the chat, or somebody posted in the chat, that the French to English translation wasn't very good. So I'll get my daughter in here, because she's doing French at A-level. She's rather good at it. Maybe she'll translate it better for me. So there we go. That's the Kodamo Infini, hopefully. And we'll have some more on that soon. Right. Let's do a couple of April Fools, because, of course, it is April Fool's Day. There hasn't been a huge amount of exciting and really gut-wrenchingly funny stuff. But this one was interesting, I thought, from our friends over at Cherry Audio. And let's play this one for you here. Wait for it. Wait for it, wait for it. I love that. As soon as we have the chips. So, hands up, first of all, who wants one of those in real life?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Definitely.
We're big fans of Cherry Audio. We had Mitchell on a few weeks ago. We've got Dan coming on in a few weeks' time with something new to tell us about. But Dream Synth came out a few weeks ago. It's been a massive hit. It's been their biggest selling product ever. And it really does pay homage to those kind of late 80s, early 90s kind of digital synthesizers that had analog filters, the stuff that was sample-based, Ensonics and that kind of stuff. And it really has a great sound. I really, really like it. And to see like even if it was just a hardware controller like that, Ken, you're a hardware controller maker. Would you like one of those?
Yeah, probably.
Would you make one? Would you make one if we asked you?
Probably. But thing is, I mean, when I see synths that in that kind of design, I just think of the Synthex. I'm going, yeah, well, I've got 2 of them already, so no, I can't be bothered. I'm all right. Yeah. Neither of them work, mind, of course. But
it's
yeah,
nice
it's nice. Yeah, it's nice. I must admit, yeah.
It's obviously not going to exist because it is April 1st. Or is it? Maybe that was the exciting thing that Dan has said that he wants to tell us about in May, because he said that we've got something in May. We're going to.
Has there ever been a successful product launched on April 1st? I wonder.
That's a good question, isn't it? Would you, maybe from a kind of counter psychology perspective?
Yeah. Well, I wonder how many failed April 1st launches have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, what you do is you do a joke launch, and then about a month later, actually launch it.
Yeah.
And it's
thought we were kidding.
A double full.
Because you did notice that, like things like the SmplTrek and all that, there was a few other things, and they all launched before Friday. And I'm not saying that that's kind of thing, but maybe they were just getting them in before. Because
I reckon you're right. You're right.
It could be, but no, it would be interesting. Have you tried Dream Synth at all, Gaz? Have you?
No.
No.
I haven't used any I haven't used any software synths now for a long time. I've more or less stopped using them.
You're Eurorack now, aren't you?
Well, in part, but also and other things. I got the Super 6 behind me, and that's been, in fact, all the commercial work that I've done recently. I've used the Super 6 almost exclusively for everything, and that includes like a big art installation that I was involved with. That was really fun. Like Boomtown, it's like a festival. It was like an art space to do with Boomtown, so it was a really nice, cool job. I used the Super 6 on every bit of it.
Wow.
Then I went to take the tracks to the art installation, only to realize that it was just across the river, and I'm talking honestly about 100 meters away from where it was made. In Bristol.
Yeah,
I blew my mind.
Wow.
I got so excited. You can imagine
meant
how
to be.
I was like, oh my god, I just realized where it was. It was a secret location. Not the secret now. But and then I saw it. I was like, oh my god, how cool is that? And that's just but that's because the Super 6 just was perfect for that particular job. And so rather than using soft synths, I mean, it's much better if you're on a commercial job to use soft synths for recall. Hardware's a pain, isn't it?
Yeah.
I started doing using hardware in mastering, and I know it's terribly wrong thing to do because people get in touch, they want adjustments making, instant recall, adjustments made, new render. Hardware messes that up in such a huge way. You go, why did I do that? It's a pain in the bum now. So, however, doing that job, the Super 6 was so perfect, and I could get everything I wanted from it instantly. And the guy, the main artist who was behind it, came over. And we were working on something, and he said, "Oh, can you do?" He wanted like a kind of sort of train kind of effect, and I had it up, and it was perfect, like in moments with the Super 6. So, there's that thing about. Sorry, I'm totally going off track.
No, not at all.
In a way, I felt that Omnisphere had sort of won the synth. The virtual synth, to do a new virtual synth, almost pointless. Omnisphere is just sort of and it just got better and better. And then when it did its hardware thing, that I just thought, okay, it's almost won. That is that. I don't know. You couldn't get a better piece of software than Omnisphere. It's the top. I mean, how could you surpass it? I don't think it's surpassable. So you have to do things either super specialist emulations of things that Cherry are fantastic at anyway. And this is is it their first, or this is like it's something? It's not based on anything. It's
It's an homage, I think. Rather than anything.
So I mean, in that way, I bet it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But for me. Yeah, I've just got so far away from that stuff now, I'm enjoying it more. I'm sorry,
no, not at all.
And I'm enjoying using the Super 6, for instance, for doing things that I might have used sort of samples for, like electric piano kind of things, and it's not exactly. It doesn't matter about it being.
Doesn't matter, no.
It doesn't matter about it being an exact version of that. It's like, is the music any good?
Yeah, exactly.
But sadly, it wasn't in my case.
Well, I've got to say, I'm still an Omnisphere virgin. I don't have it. I don't actually feel compelled to get it because I think I've got enough of everything else that I want. But then maybe somebody sits me down in front of it and I change my mind. So
don't do it. Don't do it. It'll spoil things for you.
All right, I'll swear off it, Eric. If you're going to send me that copy, don't do it. Apparently, there was another April Fool, and this was an odd one. Okay, and just to confirm, because I have seen some people in the chat, the Cherry Audio thing was an April Fool's. And we'd like to see it actually happen. It was one of those things that, it wasn't actually that ridiculous, but I don't think it's going to happen. Anyway, this other one, this April Fool's kind of started a couple of weeks ago which I thought was odd, because everyone said, well, if this is real, wow, and if it's not, then why start doing this April Fool like too early? It kind of backfired, I think. I don't know. Basically, CME, everybody get a drink. It's time for WIDI. So CME have announced this product called SWIDI, which was an exact replica to almost every degree of Behringer's Swing, which of course was a blatant clone of the Arturia keystep. And we just wondered whether, CME were just trolling Behringer or whether this was actually a real thing. And this is what they actually threw up on their website. So CME introduces SWIDI inspired by Behringer. Rip-off or kick-off, leave your comments below. And essentially, this was basically a Behringer Swing with a couple of bits of photoshopping on it. But what it was advertising was a keystep-like controller. But instead of having any connectivity at the back, it was just going to be wireless MIDI, the WIDI protocol. And instead of having a plug-in, PowerPoint, it was going to use something akin to Apple's, what do they call it? The mag something thing. You'd have thought that I would have known that, but the magnetic thing that just clicks on the back. So it's going to have its own built-in kind of battery cell, and you just charge it like that. Pre-order price of €79. Next announcement, April Fool's Day. So, okay, now we kind of know what's going on. However, yesterday or the day before, they then shared this, which actually confirms that this is a product that is almost certainly going to get made, because CME have this, instead of doing Kickstarters, they do crowd creation projects. So what you do is you just register your interest by sending them your name and your email address. And by doing that, when the product eventually gets made, you get a discount on your pre-order. And in this case, you're going to get a 50% discount. So 50% of 79, do that in your heads. It's like, what, 39 pounds or 39 euros or whatever. It's ridiculously cheap, and they're up to 581. So this actually only launched yesterday. So you've got another 2,500 to go. But now the design has changed. So now we're seeing something that is, akin to the previous models, the Arturia and the Behringer one. But let me just bring this slightly larger on the screen here. So it's just basically a small 25 mini key controller with touch strips for pitch and modulation, which I'm not a fan of. You've got some transport controls there, and you've got Bluetooth MIDI, and it looks like you've got 4 Bluetooth MIDI buttons, which means that if you set this up like the WIDI groups that you get, just by pressing a button, you'll be able to connect to the assigned instrument that your WIDI is connected to. So I would make great use of this in my little studio. I've put my name down for one of these, especially at that price with the discount. But it does actually look that this April Fool's is going to be something that will get made a little bit later on this year. And they're inviting you to suggest, other features for it. Whether that will put the price up, I don't know. And they've seemed to have committed to €79, which is crazy cheap. But thoughts on this, gentlemen? Anyone see themselves buying one of these? I mean, Kent, you kind of, my encouragement, you went in and got WIDI, and you've been using it. Could you? I mean, I got a key step. I got a key step. So if I put one of the WIDIs on it, it's that. Yeah.
So it'll only cost me 28 quid to get that, and I can have it now.
Yeah.
Because I've already got a key step.
This is true.
I tell you what, this is the thing. Arturia got it really right with the key step. Yeah. The original key step 32. And then I've got the key step 37 behind me, which I think is even better. I think it's fantastic. But they just got it so right. So much so, I see this like a Stratocaster kind of situation with Fender.
Yeah.
And so many people make Stratocasters like exactly the same as Fender do. I think Arturia, it's not like all their eggs were in that basket. Arturia are amazing. One of my favorite companies. They keep doing loads of great, interesting things. So this is just part of what they do, and I think that they've created something that's just right. That other people doing them is testament to how right it was.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's horrible in a way for them if they lose sales, whatever, however, but they will keep on doing good and innovative stuff. No one's taken on a Keystep Pro just yet, have they? So they are ahead of the curve. And the Keystep 37 is a significant update from the Keystep 32. Let's make no mistakes about that. I mean, it is a bit more expensive, of course, but the Keystep was so brilliant. You know, I think what they did with the Keystep 37, it just made it perfect. I think that is the perfect spot. So they're all chasing that Keystep 32. Arturia have already kind of moved on a little bit, you know. I don't know the politics and whatever, blah, blah. So sorry about that. But however, just that they got it so right. I mean, the Keystep, it's just a joy to use. It's just you and music really quickly, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and that sort of makes it a really valid thing. So the fact that CME, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Like the whole kind of troll thing, the Behringer swing thing seems so trollish, and it also connected with the wider Behringer story going on, which still confuses and confounds me. The latest Behringer thing, what's it? They've got 50 different new synths in production now. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
We've bombarded with an unbelievable range of new product releases by them in a jumbled, odd way with this new Volca range called the Soul, which is now, if you're familiar with Volcas and you look at the Souls and you look at what the feature set is, they are sort of clearly going, right, we're going to take the Volca. I'm sorry, you probably talked about this on your show, but, you know, you take this and you make this and just, but yet making really kind of interesting ideas. I'm really intrigued to see how this plays out, but in this kind of way that just ignores the sensitivities of other companies in terms of how they do it, which for some of us is appalling, and for, you know, many people is like, wow, it just makes it all incredibly affordable and accessible. Someone was telling me about the Monopoly the other day and just loving it, the Behringer Monopoly, and they're just going, I just wouldn't have had this opportunity to play this fantastic synth, and it's kind of this weird thing of like, it makes the Monopoly a better instrument, the original one. If that hadn't have happened, the Monopoly's life and experience and influence would have just waned. This just gives like a new energy and hopefully really good music that spans from it. So it's really difficult on a moral basis of where to stand, because it's sort of, you know, I saw the new Moog Taurus, what is the Behringer version of the Moog Taurus? The pedals, not the and I was like, oh, I've always wanted them, the Moog, you know, but they've gone for stupid money now. So we're in this situation, and we all know about this. How it's like, we're challenged between having morals and desires and being able to. I've got a Behringer 2600 Blue Marvin here.
Oh yes.
I always wanted a 2600. I used it wasn't me, but on a session in 2001, and it was the best sounding synth sound I'd ever heard in my life. So the 2600 had become a object of desire, but the price is spiraling up, up and up and up. And then being able to get one for around 500 quid, I felt a bit wrong doing it.
You know? You didn't though, Gaz. You know, you like, see, this is the thing where people go, you know, oh yeah, I always wanted, you know, a 2600. You know, you go, yeah, and you're still wanting one.
I am still wanting one.
Yeah,
I'm wanting a real.
20, I
wanted the real one more now.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, but it's still that thing where it is an excellent stopgap between now and whenever that bank robbery goes right, and you get the money to buy the real one. You know?
I tell you what, there's a good chance it'll go right this time. We've learned from the past, but like now we've got like the synchronizing bit down. We've been practicing on GTA Online. I reckon we're going to pull it off.
This time, wear the tights on your head.
Well, the thing is,
wear them on your legs.
There was this thing recently, wasn't there, where they and Behringer have cashed in on this. They've done a video with the guy that plays with Hans Zimmer, who has the wind controller, and he's using a Behringer 2600 for that, and he's loving it. He's getting this great sound out of it, and that's fantastic. But as you pointed out when I think we mentioned that the other week, Kent, you wouldn't want to take a real 2600 out on a world tour with you. So this is perfect for that. It will give you something in the region of. Yeah. And it sounds great. It doesn't.
This is the whole point. Because back at the studio, Hans says he's got 2 G clefs and 2 tonuses.
Yeah, you're not going to take any of that stuff out of the road.
And they're delicate little girls, and he's not going to drag them halfway around the planet.
Exactly.
Have the tube and switch cleaner on the stage every 5 minutes. Okay.
Indeed, and you in the wings just in case things go wrong. Although that would be a nice gig. But yeah, so CME are producing this small controller. Whether it will have wired connectivity or whether they're just I think they should just stick with the wireless thing, because that will be their unique selling point. And
Can I ask? Can I jump in here? Yeah, I've got the Yamaha BT01 Bluetooth.
Yes.
Thing. Pretty good. But if you fire in, if you just get it, just do an arpeggiator, or not even an arpeggiator, just arpeggiating a single note.
Mm-hmm.
Note triggering then, just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If I do it with an iOS device and like actually a good iPhone 13 or something, modern one, I get the occasional one that would just dip.
You will, yeah.
And I haven't found Bluetooth wireless to not do that.
Oh, we need to convert this guy. So the BT01s, as good as they were, and they operated off Bluetooth 4, and SWIDI is on Bluetooth 5, and actually has an additional piece of hardware in there which is specific to CME stuff that really ensures a very tight locked connection, and you can actually tune your devices to operate super low latency, which apparently they've measured it at less than 3 milliseconds with at reasonably close range. But I've got loads of them in here and never had an issue. But you can also tinker with the jitter, and you can prioritize low jitter so you can get really accurate connections as well.
6 milliseconds. 6 milliseconds seems to me to be the one.
Yeah,
well, this is meant to be 11 milliseconds that you're meant to be able to get away with and still get feel. But I don't think it is. I think for me, 6 milliseconds. I mean, I'm saying this, and there's a chain of like elements where bits of latency can come from, because there's going to be a certain amount of latency if like you're playing like a digital synth from the moment that your finger hits and the analog to digital converter takes that signal and turns it. And you add it all up, don't you? I mean, it's always a bit hard to measure latency, but typically 6 milliseconds of latency, if you can get it under. So if it's 3 milliseconds, then it kind of comes back to the thing I was talking about earlier with attack. Like, and I feel this is a really major thing with the hardcore heavy musicians that I know. And I know some major musicians, I tell you, I promise you that. And it's about that moment, that strike.
Yeah.
And
if that strike is right,
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gaz, if it puts your mind at rest, my MPCX has built in a Bluetooth. And I had it connected to the computer, and I used it on screen, and it was like, I went, yeah, this is fine. But then I decided to turn that Bluetooth off and actually use the SWIDI in the back and connect it to the computer. And it was like, oh, no, that's tighter.
Yeah.
You could hear that it was more synchronized. Ridiculous.
The one thing about whenever we discuss it, and we have discussed this on this show many times, because we've had, you know, I mean, I'm a big adopter of it. I love it. I've got it all over the studio, and I've not had any issues with it. But then I'm not using it intensively as many other people would, and there's always been this question about, you know, how good would it be out in a live situation?
Yeah, because if you use MIDI
more.
but see, the problem is that, I mean, I did some demo videos, and the problem is that you try and show that there's no, what I'm experiencing is no noticeable latency. Of course there is latency there, but there is no perceivable latency from me hitting the keys and hearing the sound. And I'm no, you know, brilliant player, but it works for me. But you can't really demonstrate it. It's one of those things you really have to experience in real life.
But this is the thing. This is the thing, though. If you are playing on stage and you've got an audience of like about 1,500 people there, and their mobile phones are on and Bluetooth functionality is switched on, it's like, is it going to mess up with all that Bluetooth congestion?
So again, it's one of those things, because when WIDI came out, COVID hit, so live music was just like, you know, it was gone. So I've seen videos of the current incarnation of Chicago where one of the players has got a keytar and he's using WIDI live on stage.
There's going to be big audiences and lots of equipment, so he seems to be getting on with it. I can't say I don't play live, and I can completely appreciate, you know, that there is this nightmare. I've had nightmares on stage. Musicians I've been with in Bluetooth has been a nightmare for years. So in order to get over that sort of kind of wariness about Bluetooth, is, you know, that's something I appreciate. Sorry, I'm being a bit...
No.
It's just that live thing is when it works fine in a studio.
Yeah.
You take it on stage and it's just, and it messes up and things, and it doesn't connect, and there's stuff that goes on, or it drops out, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't think there's been any sort of like major test in a live situation yet, because it's one of those things, you can only test it, you know, to test it to be used in a professional situation. You've got to have a room full of a few thousand people, all with their mobile phones, and with the location Wi-Fi, and with all the interference you're going to get from all the equipment. And only then can you test it. So are you going to go on stage and say, hello everyone, we're just going to do this test for 10 minutes? You know, it's not. So I would love to kind of, you know, set something up where we do that and we test it and see if it does or doesn't work, you know.
I can probably do that, because I've got a whole load of big gigs coming up.
Cool. Well, I'd have to speak to the guys at CME.
Well, yeah, do, because if it works under those situations, then I would then be into it.
Yeah.
But based on my experience in that world, and I've got a lot of experience in that world.
Yeah.
Bluetooth has been just so much so it's almost like a dirty word. You just don't, you cannot rely on Bluetooth in a live environment, and you really want it to, because it would make life a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Well, I will say this now, and I'll say this all due respect to everyone that has got an opinion on it. I've been using it since it came out. I've never had a problem with it, but then I don't use it in every situation. However, everybody that I have spoken to that has got it and has used it in whatever situation has never said, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, oh, it failed miserably, it doesn't work, it doesn't do this. The only people that say, or, you know, detract from it are those that haven't used it, those who have never actually picked one up, plugged it in and tested it in the environment that they claim it not to work in. So
here's an example, though. Here's an example. I've got an Eventide H9 on my pedal board. Okay. Now, that doesn't connect via WIDI, but it connects to the app on my phone via Bluetooth. And it works. And in a rehearsal studio, it works. And you can make adjustments to the things. On the stage, and I know exactly where it was. It was the Hammersmith Apollo.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Trying to then connect to it, it refused to connect to it. Now, I wanted to make a little adjustment. I wanted to just switch the running order of, you know, so quite a small thing, but it would not connect. It refused to connect. and this was in the sound check as well. So it was like, I don't know what was going on in the building. It wasn't connecting. And I was that was the only way I could connect to, because you couldn't, maybe you could actually get to the features, but it is a bit cryptic. So I want it to connect, and it wouldn't connect. So that's just a little, I'm just cutting in with that. Just
I think where SWIDI would have an advantage over that is because your Bluetooth in your phone is designed to connect to all sorts of Bluetooth devices. Yeah, pretty much like the Bluetooth in the pedal. Whereas once you're using SWIDI, use that app to connect that very SWIDI plug-in that
unique device to another one.
Yeah, uniquely ID'd to the receiver. So it's not going to look for anything else other than that unit. So there's no roaming.
Yeah, it uses Bluetooth 5, but they've actually bolted on their own kind of custom, I think they call it smart SCA, smart connectivity algorithm. Yeah. So it's basically a little chip that kind of, the only best way I can explain it is that I had it working perfectly with my iMac using the built-in Bluetooth on the computer, but then I used because they produced one that works as like a USB stick, and I got a much quicker connection between my controller and that than I got with my controller and my iMac. That took a couple of seconds to connect, whereas this one, it's just like straight on, it's in. So it's kind of like it's like a superset of Bluetooth 5, and Bluetooth 5 is incredibly good because of the channel switching capability that's built in there. So every time it's constantly scanning the frequency, and every time it notices something dip, it just hops to the next thing that is the next strongest signal along. So it's always making sure that you've got the very best connection. Is it infallible? No, of course it's not. But I would really love to test it out in a situation, where you've got a few hundred, maybe a few thousand people with their phones, with all sorts of things going on, and see if it's if it works in that regard. But is it for use in live? I don't use it. I wouldn't use it for live because I don't play live. I use it because it means that I don't have to have a whole bunch of cables running around. Yeah, and it's perfect for that. So it has its its places. Maybe it's not in every one, but there you go. We'll soon find out. But I really want one of these little controllers because I use a little 25 key controller. It is a Behringer one. So when I'm messing around with the Fairlights and I don't want to have to set everything up, I just plug this thing in, and it does. I can then just test the notes, make sure all the voice cards are working, everything's working, and I can just unplug it and throw it in the bag, and it's battery operated. This would be brilliant because I would just plug a SWIDI into the back of the Fairlight, and then I can just choose which instrument I want to test by pressing the button on the keyboard. It's going to be brilliant. I really want this. But anyway, let's move on because we're running out of time. We've got a couple of other things. This is one that Ben wanted to talk about. I can't say I'm going to be a fan of this one, so I'm going to hand over to him on this one first. But this is something new from Native Instruments, and it's called Playbox, and it's kind of their inspirational tool. Let's have a quick look at the promo video first. So that's Playbox, Native Instruments' new kind of inspirational tool. Let me just bring the main web page up so we can have a quick look at this. Ben, you're the one that brought this to my attention.
Yeah, it was the graphics that got me at first because I was like, what the hell's going on here? How can this make music? And so as I started looking at it, it seemed what at first seemed just like a MIDI chord pack wrapped up in fancy graphics actually became something a lot more, and the more I looked into it, the more interested I got about it, because it's actually quite inspirational. That basically you have eight lanes, which are essentially chords, and you put a chord in each one of those lanes. There they are there, right? So each one of those vertical strips is a chord, and those little graphics are the elements that the notes and the sample that note is played on. So you say you had a C major, you'd have a C, an E, and what's the next one up?
G.
G.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that good. Right.
So, any musicians in the house?
No, I've got it on my iPad here.
Yeah, nice one. So you'd put the C in the bottom one, and you'd have that assigned to one sound.
Right.
And then your E in the next one, and then your G in the next one, and that's your C major. But you don't play those chords, you just play one key, and you trigger them like that. So you have 8 keys on the keyboard, and you trigger these. And it sounds a bit crap, really, but it's surprisingly inspirational, and you can actually put your own chords into it if you'd rather play them. So it's a little bit fiddly, that, but you play the chords and then drag the MIDI file in to this, and that then puts, if you've got a chord sequence, it puts the chords onto those individual slots. But okay. It's a lot more than what it initially seems, and yeah, it's
greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, the graphic user interface is a little bit gimmicky, but that's just covering a quite powerful chord machine, because that's what it is really. It's a chord machine, and then you can. The elements of that chord can be different notes. Well, they'd have to be, and different sounds. It's really quite unique.
I'm very much a visual person. If you can visualize something that is inherently complex, then I'm all for that. I mean,
yeah.
Going back to the Kodamo, we said this when we talked about it. You know, the fact that you can see what's going on in FM on that screen just makes it so much easier to kind of understand all the interactions between those parts. So I love visual stuff, but this just kind of had a lot of fluff about it in terms of the visual stuff. I haven't used it, so I can't really pass a genuine comment on it. But if you seem to be very enthused. Did you buy this?
Not yet, no, but I am thinking about it.
Okay. Because it's about 129, isn't it?
I think it's 129 introductory price, yeah. It's just, it's when you've got them tram lines, you're trying to write something and you just can't get beyond repeating the same sequences you've done before.
Right.
This takes you completely out of that.
So
You're in a different environment, aren't you, messing with these little graphics and only being able to use the same 8 keys on your keyboard.
Yeah,
it's I don't know.
Do you see this as maybe a starting point tool for people, just thinking, oh, what's my next idea going to be? Let's try this, or do you think like a writer's block solution? That kind of thing?
I see me using it as a starting point to get something that I wouldn't normally think of. Just to spark something off in me. I hear a harmonic in all that, and then that sends me off down a different path altogether.
Yeah. How about you, Kent? Can you see yourself being inspired by this?
Yeah, because inspiration comes from anywhere and everywhere. I mean, it's like almost like an oblique strategy sequencer, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just try yourself at it, and yeah, I'm all for like getting as much help as humanly possible when I'm writing stuff.
Yeah.
So and funny enough, I had exactly this same conversation with Richard Hilton yesterday about every song I do starts in C minor, and it's like I haven't done a track with a rhythm in it since 2014, and it's time to mix it up a bit. That's why I got the MPCX, and I must use it more. So yeah, these kind of little tools, you try them out. I mean, it's one because you can try this out before you buy it, can't you?
Yes, I think so. Yes,
and just see where if it tickles all the right areas. Yeah, go for it. If it's not really doing it for you, go and find something else, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, so these kind of tools, they're few and far between, actually.
Yeah.
It works on the free contact player as well, this one. So
okay.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Full-blown.
So, Gaz, you've already stated that you're not really a software guy now. You're pretty much all hardware. But does this kind of thing interest you?
It does, in terms of, I like the approach, and I think it's interesting, and it connects to some kind of ideas I'm having in hardware and modular as well regarding chord manipulation, I suppose. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's native instruments, so it's going to sound fantastic. It's going to be a brilliant product. They are the originals. They are the best, really, you know, for, well, them and Omnisphere, Spectrasonic. Yeah. And Arturia, actually. I love Arturia's software. I think that's really good.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
But I mean, Native Instruments, though, they are the originals, and they make incredible stuff. So I'd be interested to see how this would work with Machine. That was initially my first, it's like, oh, is it going to, is the implementation when you use it in Machine going to be really fluid? That'd be really interesting. Machine, I was talking earlier about Infinity boxes, and Machine is one of the best Infinity boxes out there. Slightly still, although you can get around it, but still grid, like a grid-based machine. But I don't know. This is going to be cool. I think it's. I think if you had a bunch of tracks in mind, like maybe rhythm tracks, you're working on some rhythm tracks, I think this is where this would be amazing. If you just really focused on working on rhythm tracks, and then decided to then bring in a melodic element or harmonic chordal element into what you're working, and you brought this in, I think it just absolutely blow your mind. I think in that part of the workflow, it would just be like, whoa, and you would just, create something amazing. And I think also you would start stuff with it as well. I think it would be a brilliant starter as well. Totally. Rich Hilton on Sonic Talk on Wednesday was talking about things going, just people should just like learn music theory. And devices that kind of give you a certain amount of music theory, control, make it easier, accessible. Without having to have gone to Berkeley or Juilliard or whatever.
Yeah, quite.
However, I'm in this particular position myself of having had some music sort of lessons and some, I've got a certain degree of music kind of theory knowledge. I see amazing. I was watching this Keith Jarrett thing, and I was just going, the guy is amazing. I work with this incredible jazz musician called Kevin Feiges. We work on a lot of projects together. Amazing musician, seriously well worth checking out. He's really, really up on his music theory. In fact, he helped me on my track that I did for the SonicState compilation album.
Oh yes.
He did all the horns. And also in that particular case there's like a little instrumental section on that song, and I'm trying to get from a B minor to C minor via key modulation. And if you want to do that and adhere to music theory rules, it's quite complex, because you're having to move it through a whole bunch of keys before you bring it. They're not related keys. So to kind of make musical shift as it develops, it's taking you from one key source to another key source. You have to kind of move it through certain things that kind of our brains accept as kind of musically correct. I'd done it instinctively, and then he harmonized it and brought in the kind of technically correct way of doing it, which is sophisticated, takes a lot of study and a lot of effort to be on top of that sort of thing. So whereas I'm not that he's a way deeper
Right.
music theorician, whatever. The theory, you know, the complexity of the theory just goes so deep, and it's like mathematical, it's sophisticated. It really is quite difficult to do it. You know, it's if you were to kind of try to analyze it in maths, all of the harmonies and all of the, it's difficult. People keep saying to me all the time, it's all in Bach. If you want to know about music, if you're interested in theory, study Bach, because it's all there. Harmony, you know. However, I'm a lazy twat, so I'm kind of really excited about tools that make me like look really much more sophisticated. Like I actually did the homework, which I never did.
That's it. Yeah. No, I've got one or two little things that, you know, you like these chord generating things, and you just like you hit the dice button and you come up with something you like it. But I suffer terribly from imposter syndrome as it is. So when I produce something like that, I just think, I can't really do anything with that because I didn't come up with it myself. It's kind of cheating. And I always kind of look at it from that perspective. But I'm not musically trained or in any shape or form. So like you say, I'll take any help I can get.
If you make music that makes people, if the music that you make affects people, what's cheating in the making of it? It's kind of the idea of cheating is kind of if you're doing like a kind of TV performance and it's meant to be like a live vocal and it's kind of melodized, that's kind of cheating. But in terms of making the process of making music, there's no cheating. Anything goes.
I'd use anything basically to get where I want to get with the music.
Well, you're shameless anyway. Anyway, well, that's excuse me, my voice is now really going. Native Instruments Playbox is available now. It's 25% off until April 24th. So it's normally 179 down to 129. That's UK, by the way. So if you want to go find a bit more about that, it's nativeinstruments.com or native-instruments.com, and you'll find it on their webpage there. One more thing to cover before we say goodbye, and we were supposed to cover this last week and we ran out of time, so I'm not going to let that happen this week. And I know that seeing as we have a guitarist of sorts, a bass guitarist, the best guitar there is in our midst, then we must cover some pedals, because we used to cover pedals quite a bit when we had Chris on the show. We don't tend to do it, so we have been remiss. I'm not going to play the entirety of this promo video, but it is it's not a bad little tune. So Boss have issued the RE202 Space Echo in two types of pedal form. I think this is like kind of a second generation, because I think they've done this before. But here's a little demo of what it does in a band situation. I don't think we need to go through the whole thing. We know what this is. This is a Space Echo, basically in pedal format. And there are two different versions, I believe. Let me just bring the appropriate page onto the screen. In 3, 2, 1, go. So here we go. It's the next generation of Space Echo, according to them. Of course, everyone's familiar with the original unit there, but these are two pedals, the RE202 and the RE2, which is kind of in the classic Boss pedal format. I think it's one of those things, everybody universally loves the Space Echo. It's just one of those sounds that we've all just got so used to. It's just such a lovely, lovely thing. And it's been done to death recently in plug-in form, but now, of course, we can have it in pedal form. And, of course, we are the Pro Synth network, but lots of synth players use guitar pedals, and so this is of interest to all of us, including people who play stringed instruments. What do you think about this, Gaz? I think you're a fan.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But I mean, the RE20, the Space Echo was never really a guitar pedal anyway, was it?
True.
My experience was always of them was with synth players anyway. So, I think it's incredibly relevant. I mean, we've had loads and loads of excellent emulations of tape echo in the last few years that have really gone up a notch from those of the past. The Valente that I've got here from Strymon is a fantastic sounding pedal that seems to have like a 3D quality to it, this mythical element that we kind of always, hark on about with the originals. So I'm sure that this is going to be fabulous. I mean, we did talk about this on SonicState on Wednesday, so I feel I'm going to repeat myself a little bit because I did have a lot of opinions about it back then. But it's sort of, I think it's especially the larger form one. What's it called? The larger one?
RE202.
The 202. With that sort of classic Roland ensemble, what's it, the CE1, was it?
Yeah.
The CE1, and it looks like a CE1 in many ways. They've used that as a, much like they did with the Mini when they brought the Mini back. It kind of looks like it, but it's also modern and whatever. The fact that you've got a lot of other things in there to do with the reverbs can be really high quality reverbs, not just a spring emulation, although it's laid out to function just like an RE20, and that's what we want, but we also want it to do that, and it does. So, I mean, I think they've got it absolutely 100% spot on with this. There's a lot of competition, but because they are the makers of the Space Echo, they've got a legitimacy to it which you cannot underestimate in the market. That's something so they will do very well. These will be extremely popular. The first digital recreation that they did in the pedal from about 15 years ago was brilliant. It was a really, really good sounding pedal. I mean, I remember thinking, because that was my point of reference when I got my Strymon Volante, and thinking, oh yeah, no, this feels like a next generation in the tech sort of way. So this is Roland then kind of bringing it into that up to date. It's an old, it's a model of an old device, but bringing that modeling into that newer idiom. However, by also including extra features. Now, it's funny, it's got the warp and twist functionality that they've had for quite a while. The first double pedal that they did in the early 2000, 99 or something. I can't remember what it's called now. What's a DL20 or something? Is it DL200? No, DL20 maybe. That had it. I think they might have introduced it into that, which is where when you kind of apply it, it sort of just ramps up the feedback, but it also ramps up the pitch as well.
Right.
So you get this this really wild thing. I used it quite a bit in my first ever Eurorack performance, but with the implementation of that effect on the Boss RC505 Mark II looper. But it's a funny effect that they've kind of kept going because it's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
And if you let it go, it probably would destroy your speakers. It really is a pretty bonkers effect. But the key with that one is you get it going and then you bring it and then you stop it before it goes too far.
Right.
But I just, it amused me a little bit because I thought, but like 20 odd years later, they're still pushing their warp and twist. But the fact that they are doing that, I think is really cool. So I reckon that warp and twist applied with the new engine and the quality of the new engine will make that effect even better. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, these things, they're going to sell like hotcakes. Provided the chips are available.
Of course, absolutely.
But they make their own chips, don't they? Roland do make their own chips.
Right, okay.
Not all of them, but something this is a key thing in Roland's strategy. We've just seen it now with the new Phantoms that have just been announced as well. We see it always. They develop their own chips, which very few musical manufacturers do. Most people buy in chips, but they put an enormous amount of investment into making these new chips. So the initial Roland releases are their kind of, the V piano comes out, or the big flagship products come out, and then it's all corporate. It's all worked out. 3 years from that, they'll bring in this kind of upper mid-level kind of thing, which has got the technology of the one that was launched sort of 18 months prior. And then 5 years in, the sort of mid-price one gets it, and about 7 years in, the budget layer gets it. And you can just look back, and this is just what happens. You can see it with like Supernatural is a good example of that, because so they come up with this Supernatural chip. It's a chip. They're manufacturing that chip, so the synthesis capabilities is wedded to that chip, and then the things that have got Supernatural, the V piano, the original V piano, I think was that the first Supernatural product, and then it comes in at these different price points over time. It makes total sense, and it tallies with lots of corporate sort of manufacturers. But that's the thing, a lot of the companies in music tech, like we're talking about Sonicware or companies like that, they're not like these big corporations. So they work on a totally different thing. They're having to get in a lot of the components from the marketplace or whatever, as opposed to sort of generate a completely new chip. So with that in mind, this new Space Echo is probably using, is it the AIRD technology that they're bringing in? But this is what I'm saying. And at the price point, because what's that? Is it about 300 quid and 180 quid or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right. So it follows this sort of Roland sort of thing, and it's just an observation. It's not a criticism. It's just purely observation about how they go about stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. Ken, you repair synthesizers. Do you repair Space Echoes? Have you had your hands in those?
Yeah. None of these 201 tape echo jobs that they do now. They don't have the setting for the knackered loop point, or the dirty erase head, or the this distorted pinch wheel. Just get that sort of like sound going. But I think I do suffer from tape echo diarrhea. I think actually I got so many emulations of 201s, of 501s and blah blah blah, and Echoplexes and WEM copycats and all the rest of it. And to date, the best one I've ever had is a little hardware thing. I think it was from Line 6.
Oh yeah.
The ones where you have the pedal, and you have individual modules you plug into it, so you can make it into a delay pedal, or you can make it into a chorus pedal or whatever, or a distortion pedal. And you just plug these things in, and that seems to have done the most, quite kind of realistic tape echo.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Gaz says, I mean, because Roland are doing them, there's an authenticity.
There's a cachet there, isn't there?
Yeah. So, but I must admit, when you showed the video, I just went, "Oh, I miss my C one."
Yeah.
Why did I sell that for 40 quid? You
idiot! 40 quid.
Yeah, idiot.
Muppet.
Yeah.
Ben, you like your tape echo, don't you?
I do, but I'm quite happy with like plugins at the minute. I don't really need a hardware device for it. I think it's nice how they've remade it, especially seeing as they didn't chase analog ghosts. It's they're not chasing anything here, are they? But it's a nice device. I would have liked them to have incorporated the little VU meter in it, because I think that's essential. Like,
nice.
to capture that.
Would have been
feel.
a nice visual thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but that would have put the price up.
Yeah, it's a great product. I think it will do well. I think you're right with that. It's going to be mega successful. And I'd like to see a studio version of it, a rack-mounted one.
Ooh,
yeah, that'd be nice.
With a VU, yeah.
Yeah, with a proper VU, that'd be nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Well, there you go. That's the Roland. Sorry, the Boss, should I say? Space Echo pedals. It's an easy mistake to make. The RE202, which is the big kind of stomp box, and then you've got the RE2 in the classic Boss pedal design, each with their own sort of features. And yeah, I think you can't beat a good Space Echo. And there you go, one from the original manufacturers themselves. That is all of our news topics, all gone through. Literally, we haven't had anything. We've not left anything behind. So it just remains for me to say thank you ever so much, Mr. Williams, for joining us today. It's just an absolute honour to have you on our show, and so appropriate that it is our second birthday. What a better way to celebrate? What have you got lined up, coming up in your world?
Ooh, I think mine and Steve Davis's modular.
Oh yes.
Collaboration is really exciting to me because Steve Davis, the snooker player, is a very famous man, and a wonderful man. But it's nothing to do with that. It's like the musical relationship I'm having with him is fantastic. It's really interesting. Oh, really interesting. But
see what you did there.
But it's really rewarding. I've been learning a lot, and he has. It's a really beautiful, productive musical relationship. We've got a lot of chemistry. We make really good sounding things.
You make sweet music together.
Yeah, we do. I think for that, I've been in bands for all my life, more or less, but doing, we've got a gig booked and we've got more planned. We're playing in July. I'm going to get the date out now, and then we want to do more as well. But I don't want to do just like modular shows. I want to do kind of shows to regular people rather than to the nerds. I love doing the nerd shows. I'm amongst my people, but just doing regular shows as well.
Anything from Rumbelows and Rocket Gold Star in the offing?
Yeah, we've got a load of Rumbelows gigs. Not so much Rocket Gold Star at the moment, but Rocket Gold Star is my deep, long, my love of the love of my life in a way. My long-term band. But just to finish off, what I wanted to say about playing with Steve though is that it's a voyage of discovery. We are having a conversation when we play, and we're trying to create as much space for each other. We're listening to each other and we're responding to what each other's doing. With electronic music, it's very interesting. It's very easy, to fill up all the available frequencies. And that kind of, we're not like, I'm not doing rhythm, he's doing melody. It's not like that. We haven't got any formality at all.
Right.
So what we're doing is literally a reactive to whatever the other person is doing. And when I listen back to the recordings, which I think of the performances that we've, the performances that we've made so far, I listen back to them and I find them endlessly fascinating. Because here's something about the modular kind of experience, certainly for me, is that by not having a keyboard, now Steve was the person who was really encouraging me to try not to have keys with modular. And then I followed his advice and started just kind of working more with manipulating voltages with pitch quantizers and that sort of thing. When you're playing with someone, you're constantly working the sound. You're constantly and making adjustments, and you're constantly doing it. The other person is constantly doing it too. So then when you listen back to it, it means that the sort of the timbral quality is evolving, moving and speaking. And as this conversation develops, it's an ongoing thing, and I listen back to it, and I find it just incredibly charming. I was trying to edit it down to make. We've got a release coming out as well, and trying to edit some of these recordings down was just really hard because I was enjoying all of the conversation.
Yeah.
Whether anyone else does,
I'm sure they will. I'm sure
there we
they
go.
will.
That's what I wanted to
That's
say.
brilliant. No, that's very exciting. Look forward to that. And of course, you're still streaming on Wednesdays as and when you can.
As and when I can, yeah. I've got a whole bunch of things that is going to mean that I'm not going to be able to do that. I really hope to get out to Super Booths only for the first day because I'm on a tour with Martin Carr, who's an amazing musician. So it's going to be a bit risky. I got to fly. I'm just trying to look at the logistics of that. But I'm sorry, again, I apologize for people who see Wednesdays going on about the same thing. But Super Booth in Berlin in May. Try and get out there.
It's the place to be in it now.
It's the place to be. And people go, oh, well, I can't because of this. Sod all of that. Prioritize. Get your priorities right and get over there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it. It's going to cost me a fortune. I'm just want to do it. I'm saying this now. I've got to do it now.
Yes. You're committed for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
No,
I have in the past as well. But please get there. Go. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was on my list, and I thought because I was actually planning to go 2020, and then of course COVID hit, and so when they did it last year, I thought, oh, that's interesting. They've approached the COVID safe.
It was better
thing, yeah, and yeah, lots of people saying it was better for it. So I don't know. I've got a few days spare holiday. I don't know if I've got enough cash, but we'll have to look.
You've got enough cash to do all the other things that you're doing.
I know. It's prioritizing. Yeah, it's prioritizing.
Yeah, well, prioritize it correctly and go to Super Booth. Rob, you would love it.
I know I would. I would.
And the joy and the value that you would get for that is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like all the tribes coming together. It's a social event. It's not just a music tech event. It's a social event.
Yes, that's true.
Overwhelming how strong that is. It's beautiful. It's like the Glastonbury feeling. If you ever go to Glastonbury Festival, walk around there and you just feel like, whoa, I'm out of my normal reality. I'm in this surreal, magical place. It really gives you that feeling. And I can't recommend it enough. And it's life changing. It's life affecting. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, as Technomatic says in there, get SOS to send me out. I wish I could. I'd love them to do that.
Tell them to do it.
Well, the thing is that I go and do Synthfest for them. So
there's a way.
Yeah, this is true.
There's a way.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm convinced. Yeah. All right, I will do my very best. I will do my very best. Kent, how's things going for you? You're still kind of up in the air because you're shed building and all that kind of stuff.
The AstroTurf goes in on Monday. The electrician comes back to mess with the power again on Tuesday. There's stuff everywhere and help.
Well, I'll come and take that DX7 off your hands.
Well, I notice it's still working.
Good, lovely. It's soak tested. How can you not like that sound? Just...
Yeah, it's all right.
There you go. It's Christmas time.
It's no CS80, I'll tell you that.
Well, absolutely, and all the better for it. Now, thank you again for your company as always, Kent. It's much appreciated. No doubt we'll speak again soon. But thanks for coming back, Benjamin.
Hello.
Are you gigging this weekend?
I am. I'm gigging in Chester.
Chester. Oh, that's a posh one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I can't remember where it is.
Got to take your shoes off at the door.
Is Andy in the chat? EMX Gold, is he in the chat? He'll tell us if he was. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, that and more studio work. I've got to wire everything up again because even though it's all set up there, half of it's not wired in. So get doing that. That's the fun bit, innit?
Yeah, absolutely. Jolly
really?
good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
What about you? You up to
Me? I can actually start working on this podcast. I was supposed to submit this podcast, this particular one, last week, and encountered some technical difficulties. Thankfully, those have been sorted out. I submitted Matt Johnson instead. So Matt Johnson went out, was it last week or the week before? I've got this other one, which I can't say who it is, but it's going to be a real struggle because he and I were talking for the best part of 2 hours, and I struggled to get 40 or 50 minutes past the editor. So it has to come down quite a bit, and I can't do episodical versions. I did suggest, can we do like a 2 or a 3-parter? No, you've got to take it all down to about 40, 50 minutes. So I'm going to try and do my best with that, but I just need to sleep at the moment and rest my voice because I have got off lightly with this, I must say, by comparison to what a lot of other people have gone through. So I need to get past it. Funny enough, the app pinged me this morning and said, you may have come into close contact with somebody on Saturday that had COVID. No, Sherlock. Yeah, thank you. So, I got that. So, there we go. That's another show. That's our 104th show. It's our official 2-year birthday. I can't believe we did that. Who have we got? We don't have a guest next week. We were going to, but we've had to rearrange some of those things. But I'm not going to be here. So Ben is going to be running the show. We have we've got to schedule some kind of like session just to make sure that you're happy with everything. But
no guest as well.
Well, we'll see if we can get a guest. I'm sure we can figure out somebody. But who have we got the week after? Straight hot off tour with Gary Newman. We've only got Tara Bush and hopefully Math as well. So they're going to be telling us about the new I Speak Machine album, War. So that's going to be fantastic. Yes. We're dying to get Tara on. The week after that is going to be a really special one because we've got Michael Whalen live from EMIAP in Philadelphia ahead of his live album launch gig. He's got the whole rig set up, so he's got GX1s, he's got DX1s, he's got Prophet 5s, he's got 2 mini Moogs, he's got a Hammond organ, there's all sorts of things, and he's going to give us a live rig tour. We're going to chat with him about his new album and hopefully maybe get a slight impromptu performance as well. Who else have we got? We've got this is going to be the first one in May 6th. We've got Andrew Longhurst, who has a long history with Emu, and he's got his own production company now, does lots of video work, so he's going to be telling us all about that. After that, we've got Dan Goldstein from Cherry Audio, where he's going to be telling us about this new thing. Whether it's that controller or not, I don't know. We've got Jim Danica coming on as well in, I believe that's towards the end of May. We've also got Sheffield songwriter Elliot Kennedy coming up in June. We've got the guys from Sonicware coming up in June as well. Loads of people coming up on the show. Ben's disappeared. I don't know where he's gone to.
He's going to look up where the gig is.
This is it. Or either that or the meter's run out. But anyway, thank you again, Gaz, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Come back soon. Thank you, Kent, and thank you, Ben, wherever you might be. I'm concerned now because he doesn't normally do this. But we will be back same time, same place next week with maybe a guest, maybe not. Maybe it'll just be Ben talking to himself or Kent for a couple of hours.
I've got to phone Matey Boy tomorrow.
Matey Boy?
Yeah. AKS.
Oh, yes.
If I phone him tomorrow...
Yes.
And I can actually grab him by the short and curlies and say, you're on Friday.
Then I miss him.
Ah, okay.
Well, I suppose.
Well, you can always watch catch up.
Not the same.
No, all right then.
Yeah. Well, try your best, but I mean, I'm sure we'll be able to gather a collection of people together. We'll do something. Yeah. Anyway, so this seems. Oh, hang on, he's back. Where did you go?
Hello.
We were just about to say goodbye. I thought, this seems odd to say goodbye without you here.
Yeah, I accidentally headbutted my mic, which knocked the dodgy USB lead I've got plugged into the back of it, and I lost all audio interface functionality through the mic. So
fancy way of saying he went for a poo.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Right, okay, it is nice how to say goodbye. Thank you to everybody that has watched. Thank you to everybody in the chat who has contributed. Thank you to everyone who's donated. Thank you so much for that. It all goes to keeping us on the air. We appreciate it. Don't forget to go back through the chat and find that link to the album to support Ukraine. Thank you. We will see you all same time, same place next week with someone we don't know who, but Ben will be here, and I'll be laughing at Joe Lycett. I think that's what I'm doing. So take care. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.